What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Nerd On Update, the weekly show where we answer questions. And before that, we talk about the nerdy news that we love to talk about if our stream's going on time and if we don't have any technical issues. Thank
Which
you
we
for
had
everyone.
all tonight.
Yes.
So if you were on the
Thank
stream this week, you're welcome. No, just kidding.
You're a real one. You're a real one for sticking around. Definitely got a late start to this one. Really fun, but we grew as a people.
Yeah, we did.
But that's not the news for today.
No, it is not.
Josh, I feel like you have a lot to talk about. How about you go first?
I do. There's a lot to talk about. Like you said, I'm just going to repeat what you said. No, I'm going to start off with the sad news and we'll end with the happy news. I think that I have spoke about this on our regular show. I'm an actor. I started acting when I was like 13. And something that really I grew up on was musicals. And so I did a lot of musical theater training, voice, dance, blah, blah, blah. Long, boring story. This week, the theater world lost a legend. Stephen Sondheim passed away. And if you don't know who Stephen Sondheim is, he wrote things like A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Company, Follies, A Little Night Music, Sweeney Todd, Merrily We Roll Along, Sunday in the Park with George, Into the Woods. He's helped with a lot of musicals out in the world. If you watch the recent Tick, Tick, Boom on Netflix, which tells a little bit of the life of Jonathan Larson, his show, Tick, Tick, Boom. Really cool, but Stephen Sondheim is in that, and it was such an interesting thing to be watching that movie, and then just a couple of days later, he passed away. For me, I mean, it's a sad day. It was like, I mean, he was in his 90s. It's kind of like, it's going to happen. I think Josh Gad said the day that we knew was happening, but it's here and it's sad. The theater world there have been some incredible just interviews and people commemorating his life. He was just a really talented dude, and he put together some incredible shows. So that's my sad news, but let's get on to some interesting news. Over the past couple of days, it was announced, or it came out in an interview with Amy Pascal, that Spider-Man No Way Home is not going to be the last time that we see Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and that another Tom Holland MCU trilogy is in the works. Like it's happening. I'm interested. It piques my interest. Spider-Man in the MCU, I find myself connected with a lot more characters in DC world. I often wear like Superman logos.
What are you wearing right now?
I have a Batman shirt on right now. In the MCU, for some reason, I've always really been drawn to Spider-Man. And I'm not going to get into That's My Spider-Man debate. We have an episode for that. Check out one of our early episodes. I think it was like episode 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
# Not My Spider-Man. I've really enjoyed Tom Holland as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker. I know it's a different telling. I know that it's not a perfect telling, but it is a telling. This is their run of Spider-Man in the MCU, so I'm interested. I'm a little like we talked about in the Nerd On Extra for Nerd On. We talked about kind of the MCU-itis and just being at a place where the MCU is just constantly putting out content that it's like, I don't know. It's a cool announcement. It's cool to hear. You're like, great, neat. But it's like, okay, there's another MCU movie coming. Another 3 with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So I'm excited. I would love to see other stories. I would love to see like Miles Morales. Somebody won the internet by posting an idea of a Logan-esque Spider-Man movie. Where you have an older Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which I was like, that was just over the past week that I was like, yes, this would be amazing. And then last piece of news, just because, poor ugly man, Channing Tatum, posted that a Magic Mike 3 is in the works. I think it's called Last Dance. So Magic Mike's Last Dance. So, I like Channing Tatum. I think he seems like a cool dude. The other Magic Mike movies were funny. It was it was an entertaining movie. So yeah, Magic Mike 3. It's happening, everybody.
But it's Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
It's interesting just because like I didn't realize we might have needed another Magic Mike. But here we are, and I'll say I remember watching the first one being like, wow, they're really not cutting. And so they would do long takes, not particularly like huge oneers, but they would just like situate a camera in the corner of the room. And it was really interesting. And as someone who wants to study film, I think it's really cool that people can watch that and be like, oh, this is like a very bare bones, minimal kind of like melodrama plot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot on the stakes or a lot on the line, but just the filmmaking, and I think Steven Soderbergh, in a weird way, has really kind of pioneered an untraditional take on filmmaking. He's very known nowadays for typically shooting a lot of stuff on iPhone.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, Unsane. I think Claire Foy? I can't remember. She's the lead. And she's in this mental health facility, and it's all shot on iPhone. Obviously they're using like crazy dope lenses.
Yeah.
But he's shot. I think he shot like 2 feature films on iPhone, and then like one of them, like he was the director, cinematographer, producer, editor, and it's just like, what do you?
Did they have to change iPhones like every like 20 minutes because of the size of the files?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he did the Ocean series, right?
You're gonna know better than I will.
Ocean's 11, Steven Soderbergh, absolutely. And so, him doing Magic Mike and then doing Ocean's 11 and the Ocean series, and then doing a bunch of other films. I remember there was a while we were always talking like he would do a movie 2 movies every year. I was like, oh my god, man, this monster of a production house.
You just want to go to him. Stop it.
But what? So is it my turn for news?
It is your turn for news.
So mine, is an interesting one. It's not DC. It's not comic books. It's not filmy related, but it's a little. As you know, everyone who might be watching and listening, I spend a little too much time on the internet. And a particular part of the internet, and a part of the internet that I like because you can cater it towards yourself, but sometimes you can't protect yourself from seeing some of the things that you don't want to see, or some of the hot takes and arguments.
Yeah.
And today of this recording, one of the biggest hot takes was given to us by I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, and I apologize. I encourage someone to reach out and let me know how I can pronounce it better, but I'm going to do my best. But the user John Yushai, their @ is at every vowel on Twitter.
On the Twitter?
Twitter, because over the Thanksgiving holiday break, a small YouTuber, not really well known by many, called Mr. Beast, released a video of a recreation of a famous Netflix series called Squid Game. You might have heard it.
Oh yeah.
Netflix said it was the biggest TV show they've ever had, that reached about 11 million views. And yeah, it became a worldwide sensation. But Mr. Beast's video, it was like heralded as kind of like this blockbuster of YouTube videos that was going to come out on Black Friday or Thanksgiving weekend, and it had this huge production value, and it was a recreation of all the Squid Games, except they're non-lethal and stuff like that. But people still had opportunities to win cash prizes.
I'm just kidding.
But at every vowel released this kind of statistic that kind of set the internet on fire a little bit in terms of the online creator community, the filmmaker community. Everyone's kind of having their own bits and saying on both sides. And that's kind of the real big thing. I want people to know that there are arguments to set on both sides and to keep a level head about everything. But the tweet goes as follows: at Mr. Beast, Squid Games video, 103 million views in 4 days. Now I think it's about 114 million views.
Wow.
Which took 7 weeks to make. And at Netflix's Squid Game series, 111 million views in 30 days, and it took 10 years to make. More views, less time, fewer gatekeepers. That's the promise of the creator community. Now, those choice words and particular comparisons was not safeguarded by the internet, of course, because everyone has to have a take.
No,
but
it's the
there are
court of the
good
public.
takes and yes, there are good takes and bad takes with it. To be specific, a lot of people kind of went to arms and to bat for how wonderful it is that like Mr. Beast did this huge thing. I think it cost about $3.5 million to make. And, you know, it's again, someone like Mr. Beast who took years to develop and grow his audience and was making very obscure videos like just like 5-6 years ago, and now is making big headlines like this, you know, has food chains, has clothes merch, has fundraisers, gives money away for all the right reasons, and made this like ginormous kind of thing. And a lot of people were like, yeah, this is really great for, you know, people to use a platform like YouTube, make something and kind of not have too many hurdles. There are hurdles to be said. But then there's a lot of people who are on the other side. I kind of find myself a little bit over there where they're kind of like, well, the Squid Games, Mr. Beast Squid Games wouldn't exist if the original one wasn't there. So you can't really call it like the creator
what came first kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't call it the creator economy. I end up talking about how like, you know, us as a podcast, we wouldn't really have as probably big of a following or as many audience members if we weren't talking about some of the things that they love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously people want to come in and hear our versions of it, but we have to talk about Spider-Man or Batman or Star Wars or whatever it may be first. So
because we have a niche.
Yeah, it's hard to say that like, oh, this is like a fully creator owned, and it's not saying like, oh, well, Mr. Beast is a bad thing. It's not saying that at all. It's kind of saying that you have to thank both the chicken and the egg, right? Like, be happy that, you know, they can work in harmony, and that's how it should be at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, where wonderful, cool things, maybe not wonderful, but just interesting things like Squid Game could come out.
Yeah,
and then people can get really excited about it and make something that
I think that you've posted on social media, like how many times, and I think you've even mentioned it on the show, of just how everything can exist in the same, you know, world. We can have this version of Spider-Man, we can have this version of Batman, and they can all be, you know, they can all be copacetic. Everybody can be happy, and you know, it's just, it doesn't have to be such a I'm thinking of like the Sony Disney thing a couple of years ago of just like, it doesn't have to be such a versus thing. You know, like, we can just like, let's just make the things. I think somebody said it on social media. It's just like, I'm just happy they're getting made. Isn't this cool? Like my brother over the Thanksgiving weekend, he was talking about the sequels, the trilogy sequels, and he was like, I had no idea that people didn't like them. I was like, I love them, and I'm just so glad that Star Wars things are being made. And it was like, yeah, man. Yeah.
We could use more of you in the world.
Yeah, man. Sorry, I totally just took over.
No, and I think, you know, just you know, we have one less host today, so we can have these a little bit longer conversations about our topics. But it's like, yeah, I think there's a very interesting thing that happens on the internet. I think there is a little bit of an echo chamber, a little bit of a prismatic experience that, like, once things go into the internet, it changes because the conversation is different and everyone's trying to chase a tweet, clout, you know, fame, and trying to have that funny take or hot take that gets them in trouble and trending, so they're famous for 10 seconds or whatever. But I think the overall thing for me, and I kind of feel like I somewhat speak for the positive intent and nature of Nerd On, like, congratulations to, you know, Mr. Beast and Squid Game and all that stuff for like this huge achievement. Don't let that cloud your thinking that like there aren't other creators who are also trying really hard too, and they don't have the resources that he has. But it is a lot of hard work and a lot of hustle and a lot of ways to use the platform to your advantage. And I think we should be more encouraging that people can start doing these things like that, because
it's like supporting a small business. Like when something like this happens, it's just like, you know, it's as creators, as podcasters posting to YouTube, what he does, I can only imagine, or I can probably empathize, sympathize, whatever the right word is, for the amount of work that he puts into these things for YouTube. And it's a hit and miss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you post something and then the next week you post something that is exactly the same and it doesn't do as well. And you don't, there's no explanation of why. You did the thing, you did the right thing, you followed the rules. And for him to have something like this happen, I think, bravo, man. That's dope.
Yeah. And the other part of it is just always like, hey, don't like, I would say, don't take for granted that like this wouldn't exist without Squid Game too. So
yeah,
like as much as we want people to feel empowered to create their own things, and then have like a little have more transparency between YouTube and Hollywood, or influencer and celebrity. Hopefully we can find a balance between the two, and they can coexist, and they can kind of be interchangeable in a way, because there shouldn't be this weird, glass ceiling between the two. But that being said, like, you do respect the both sides, respect the hard hustle of being an influencer, but also respect the art and craft and the work that it took to make Squid Game a thing. And that kind of goes for everything, right? Like some of our guests that we've had on would not be, the celebrity guests that they were without Magic the Gathering, without Dragon Ball Z, X, Y, and Z. And so it's like, we wouldn't be guests on other shows if we didn't talk about like something big and that got us like hundreds of thousands of listens.
Yeah.
So respect all art where they come from. That's all the news I got. I'm gonna step off my pedestal for a second, and we can go into the next part.
Your Apple box. Is that the phrase?
Yes.
For the next part of the show is in which we answer questions from you, the people. And there are so many ways to submit questions, because I wanted to make it as easy as possible. There's actually a website that if you go to nerdon.tv/questions, there are all of the ways that you can submit questions, including an email. There's a Google form. The easiest and best and most fun way to submit a question is to join our Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord. There are channels in there that you can submit questions to, as well as continue the conversations of our episodes. If you're like, oh man, I really want to keep talking about Baccano, there's an anime channel, so you can continue talking about it in there. So check that out, nerdon.tv/Discord. And big shout out to the Nerd On Nation. If you are a member of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon, nerdon.tv/Patreon, you do get what we call the Nerd On Nudge, which we answer your questions first. And so I'm going to get in here. I'm going to get the questions. All hell broke loose, so I had to find it. Okay, Here we go. Jeremy M. asks, which Mario character are you? Wow.
You got one, Josh? I think I have mine.
I don't know. You go, because I'm gonna look it up a little bit. Because
I say I typically have I'm typically one or two things. I think I'm either Waluigi, not because I'm tall, because I'm a trolley evil version of someone else apparently.
Yeah.
Or I'm a Goomba. I'm a brown boy. I'm angry looking. I feel like typically amongst most friends that I have, I'm like, oh yeah, you're Mario, you're Luigi, you're this. I'm like, I'm probably Waluigi out of you guys.
I mean, that kind of tracks.
I feel like, Josh, give me yours, and then we can fill in for Caitlin and Corey.
Well, I'd like to say that I'm Mario. I like to think that nice guy, just going through the world, has powers, doing the thing. But I'm probably Toad. I mean, Toad's helpful. He's helpful.
I would say Corey.
It's Yoshi.
It could be Kamek. Kamek's the little wizard on the broom who's like Bowser's little henchman.
Wow, we're going like deep cuts. Like we're just going like way side characters.
And Caitlin is a Boo. Caitlin is a Boo character.
Oh yeah.
Because totally. She's like she could be very like devious behind you, but then the moment you put attention on her and make her play a scary game or do something, she's going, oh god no. That's just me. That's just me. Y'all can
No, I
clip
think that
that and then
tracks.
send to her. See how I care,
We love
yeah,
you.
I think that's it.
Okay.
And I would want to hear their versions. Like, do you think I would be anyone else in the Mario world, Josh? I
Um.
might put you as Luigi instead of Mario, just if I can if I could do that my version. You could have
Yeah.
your version of me.
Okay. I mean, part of me feels like you really, like, down to your core, you really want to be Bowser. um. No, what's funny is I've played like the basic vanilla Mario games, but I'm not familiar with a lot of the side characters. So I don't even know. I've never even played a Wario game. A
Well,
Wario.
yeah, there's one Wario platformer which is fun because he rolls and makes thunder. And then WarioWare is just like a bunch of dumb mini games.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I want to bring this up and also I want to see that in the Discord. Like, what do other people think of themselves?
Yes. That's an interesting question. I like that.
Yeah, we'll go to the next one.
Next question comes from Thomas Solorio. What's your top 5 favorite rappers? Wow.
Top 5 favorite rappers.
Let me look
Okay,
this up.
okay, I'll try to go off on the ones I know, and I think of firsthand. Obviously, I gotta go with the one that I grew up with when I was a young boy, Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
Eminem was like the one for me. And then secondly, I'd probably have to say, I mean, I don't know if you count him. I mean, do you count Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park?
I feel like you can.
Because he raps, but I don't know if he's considered a rapper. But he's very big on like new music, where he's like, there is no genre. You could blend both genres, and they're
Well,
fine.
yeah, it's kind of the natural growth of music. It's like we got things like Kid Rock. You know, it's like it's just it's a mishmash of different kinds of music. It's rock, but it's also got this part of it. You know, I'm looking up mine, but you keep going.
So I got Eminem, I got Mike Shinoda. Um, I feel like I like old Kanye. I really do like old Kanye.
Okay.
I think right when like um I forget the one song he did. It's the heart. It's the heart one. It's the heart one. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of over it now. Another one. I would say I really like. I mean, I really like Lil Dicky.
Okay.
I
Okay.
really like Lil Dicky. And then rappers. I mean, I just don't want to sound like very basic and simple, but it's like
Oh, I'm totally going. Oh, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I can't go wrong with Pac, with Tupac.
Oh yeah, Tupac.
I've been listening to a lot. I only started listening to Tupac after I became a monk, and so
Oh
one of
really?
my other monk guy, he was like, I only listen to Tupac. And I was like, why? And then he's like, it's really good. And then I think number 5 is going to be I mean, I think this one's for Corey. I think he's more hip hop, right, than rapper. Would it be would Gambino be in there? Josh Gambino, Donald Glover,
Maybe.
maybe. I'm gonna take one from the chat, and I'm gonna see Big Pun because I've been called Big Pun before because of my legal name that no one knows about.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
That's awesome. For me, number 1 is a artist called Atmosphere. I'm actually now bringing this up. I'm like, oh man, I gotta listen to this. Atmosphere, I really like.
oh yeah.
Watsky. I really like Watsky a lot. Eminem. I know it's kind of a basic, but
We can't avoid him.
I can't. Yeah, Watsky, I love. I mean, going old school, I love NWA. I mean, it's just like listening to them. It's a lot of fun. I actually haven't listened to a lot of Tupac. My sister, growing up, she was way into hip hop and rap, and I was like, I wasn't into it at that time, and I remember I worked with this guy at Hollywood Video, and I was like, my basic response was like, I don't like rap, I don't like hip hop, and he just looked at me and he went, "You haven't been listening to the right hip hop," and he
Yeah.
just like he welcomed this just this slew of he's like, okay, he brought like stacks of CDs. He's like, listen to this, Atmosphere #1, and I listened to it, and I was like, oh man, this is so good. Cunning Linguist, yeah, Cunning Linguist, yeah. I like them. Haven't listened to a lot of them, but what I've heard, I think that's 5. I think I got 5.
If I could do an honorable mention, I realize I really like Drake. I know that
Oh, okay.
might make people hate me, but I like Drake. I listen to some Drizzy. I don't Drake and drive, or else I end up at an ex's house.
Oh man, that's awesome. Next question.
Next question.
Next question comes from Ethan. Have you read Dark Knights of Steel? Really satisfied my high fantasy itch. I have not.
I have not. So for those who are listening right now, and Dark Knights of Steel, it is like a reimagining of the DC universe if it was done like in Middle Earth. So the
What?
synopsis here, the synopsis here is an entire medieval world will forever be changed when a spaceship crash lands from a doomed planet. Monarchs will die, kingdoms will rise, and what seemed like the end of the world for many was only the beginning. An epic high fantasy story set in a DC universe.
This is like Deceased. It's like another thing where you're like, ooh, it is like, it gives me an alternate. Is this a comic book? Like,
Well,
is this,
you know who writes Deceased, right? Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
You know who writes this?
Tom Taylor.
Tom Taylor. So
he was just like, I want to write for Batman and Superman and all these guys, but I just really don't want to do the same thing.
I mean that's the cool thing, right? Where it's like that's the point of fictional characters, is that you can remix them and do them differently and put your funk and stank on it, so that like, oh, I'm telling a story, the same story, but with a different skin, and it has different implications, right? Like, I think you would really dig the artwork. I think I've been wanting to read it, Ethan. And I've seen nothing but really wonderful, beautiful images.
Do I have to add something else to my pull box?
Yeah. And like the thing is, like, this is what happens with me. I don't go to a comic book store that often, but when I go, I always spend like $80.
Yeah. Like I go once a month to just pick up everything. And like I got points saved up. And they know me by name. They're like, hey, I thought about you. And they're like, it's like American Vampire #1. I was like, oh, you guys are dope.
Yeah, I go to that same one and they don't care. They're just like, get out. I'm like, okay.
Get out.
I have my membership card and they're just like, I like Josh instead. I'm like, okay.
They say that outright. They were like, hey, you know that Tom guy? Fuck that guy.
There's like,
you're our guy.
They're giving my stuff back. I'm like, can I get a bag? I'm like, a bet? Get out already.
Get what? No, you carry those.
Take your $80. Get out of here.
That is the pre-submitted questions. Tom has the. I forgot to mention, if you are joining us for our Twitch streams, you can submit questions in the chat, and Tom gets to do the honors of writing those down and keeping those organized. So go you, Tom.
Yes, I do want to mention some things I saw in the chat though. I'm sorry, Mamba, for hating me for liking Drake. He has about like maybe 7 songs, okay, that are good. Yes, for Battery Print, absolutely. I think the Ultimates for Marvel is a great kind of different take for these characters. I know you're mentioning Marvel Noir, but it's like when you can have these different takes, I think that's exactly what Josh loves about comic books like Red Sun and Dark Knight Returns, where it's like, oh, these are different, or Injustice and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. I mean, it gives you a respite of like we've talked about on the show. It's like when you get into comic books, it's like, well, where do you start? How do you start? Like, I want to read Superman, but it's like, which run? Like, where do you want to, like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Or you can like be like, hey, you want a really fun run? Read Deceased. It's 7 issues.
But or like if someone wants to get into like a DCU or an MCU, it's like watch the cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to give you a version that should probably put you on a good path to be like, all right, it's like, I want to know more about Wolverine. There's a thing called Hulk versus. He fights Wolverine and he fights Thor. Now you get 2 characters for the price, 3 characters for the price of 1 movie.
Yeah.
And then you get to see Deadpool, you get to see Omega Red, you get to see like all these different characters. Or it's like, all right, go watch the first season of Batman the Animated Series. You're gonna see like 8 villains, and you'll kind of know what each villain's about. And it's like there are multiple ways to get into comic books. Is there a definitive way? Not really.
Yeah.
Whatever's best for you and how you want to approach it, that's probably the best for you.
Whatever gets you into the art. Like, and like I didn't even have the normal way. Like I started with not off stuff, like, but like
Vertigo.
Vertigo, Why Last Man, Preacher, The Walking Dead. Like I started there because superheroes were just overwhelming to me.
Some people would say you started the right way because a lot of people have been saying, Vertigo is the HBO of comic books.
Hell yeah.
So
look at me. I'm so
cool. We'll start with our first question. I'm going to pull some from the stream tonight and then some from the we got weeks ago. So Bad Reprint asks, question, one of the new iterations of Spider-Man has him live streaming his crime fighting as a way to generate income. In that vein, which hero would you most likely tune into if given a chance?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
So one of the new iterations of Spider-Man has him live streaming his crime fighting to generate income.
Mm-hmm.
In that vein, which hero would you most likely tune into if given the chance? So if there's all the heroes live streaming their fighting, their crime fighting, who would you watch?
Oh, interesting. There's a part of me that goes down the line of like, oh man, Batman would be dope. His like overlay would look dope.
My pick is Spawn.
Oh, that's the right answer. That is the right answer.
Metal. There's gonna be hot babes.
We
in
might
metal
be in the
armor.
underworld. There might be.
There's gonna be angels flying around. There's gonna be machine gun everywhere. People are gonna get shot but not die. People are gonna transform into giant monsters. There's gonna be gorillas with machine guns.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
I'm like,
you broke the question.
And that's the one where I feel like I don't know why he's streaming this, but man, I'm glad he is because Spider-Man needs money, and where it's like, why would Batman need to?
That's the power counter could be on screen, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we would be like, what is that clock? I don't know what that clock is.
And he won't answer us for like 20 years, and then be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I would do Spawn. If I can do, what would you do as a second? I'll do a second too, since we both know Spawn's the right answer. First,
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go indie-ish, Kick-Ass.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of a modern thing. I read this. I was getting my news together, and Mark Millar this week was like, "No, Kick-Ass 3 is not happening." But no, Kick-Ass would be fun. I mean, it would be totally appropriate. It would just be like, oh yeah, that would happen in this world probably. Yeah, Kick-Ass would be cool.
I think if I were to have a second pick, I might pick Static Shock. Because it trying to figure out for entertainment value, I feel like he would have a good presence. Like Spawn is just going to be a really cool stream. Like, oh my god, I'm seeing a spaceship land in Mars.
He probably won't talk to us. He probably won't talk to us.
But Static is going to be like a host. He's like, hey man, this is Detroit City, and I was like, okay, cool.
There's performance.
Yeah,
value.
Exactly. He's going to be a good host. I feel like I think there's going to be some people who are terrible hosts. Okay, next question. This is going to be from Mamba, Black Diablo Mamba. Question: which franchises do you feel should not have had a sequel? You don't have to be too brutal about your explanation, but give your opinion about why you feel this way. Grease.
I actually liked Grease 2 more than I liked Grease 1. Didn't need sequels. You go first. I gotta
Which
think.
franchise do you feel like should not have had a sequel? Oh, Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit
Hobbits?
sequels.
Oh
yeah, the Hobbits didn't need to happen. You had the Lord of the Rings franchise trilogy, and it was good. It was done. It won a lot of awards. The Hobbit. I feel like there wasn't a big need for it. I think people more have wanted like as an outsider, I never heard people being like Hobbit, Hobbit, Hobbit. I heard Second Age. I heard similar, like I heard all these words I don't like. Are you speaking English still? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I never heard The Hobbit. I always heard The Hobbit was like the kid's story, right? That being said, when someone takes their own artistic point of view and making it into like, two movies, it's fine. But that franchise, I feel like, said what it needed to say, and people still look back on it and being like, this is the greatest fantasy story told in movies of all time. And The Hobbit, everyone just looks at it like, not everyone, a lot of people and the kind of overall zeitgeist look at it like like a terrible Spawn child, which I'm like, I know there's people who like it. And I know people who love it. But I feel like that's one that divided the fandom, that kind of like, has kind of put Lord of the Rings in a weird place where like, is it still viable to make, an Amazon show for $1 billion? Maybe. But that would be mine. That would be mine. Is The Hobbit, I think, didn't need to be made. And so the Lord of the Rings franchise didn't need any more sequels.
Yeah. I had to do like a search and whatnot and just look at sequels.
Terrible sequels.
The Mask. That didn't need
yeah.
That didn't need a sequel.
Sorry, Jamie Kennedy.
As terrible as they are, Tremors probably didn't need a sequel, but they're so fun to watch because
they were the spawn of the sci-fi sequel for sure.
I remember again working at a video rental store. When a new movie would come out, like just for example, like Transformers, there's this like independent like rip-off studio that makes like robot changers. Like they just make their like weird like
they're off brands?
Yeah, the B movie off-brand thing that it's like they're so like I would love for Nerd On to do like B movie episodes, like just to watch like terrible things like Trolls 2 or something like that.
Puppet Master.
Yes. Like just watch terrible B movies. Anyway.
I think there's like Silent Night, Deadly Night, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the meme of Garbage Day comes from. So, I'd be down for that. I think we definitely would have to know that we're getting into it and we'd make it thematic for the month.
Yeah. We're about to do some B movies, everybody.
Yeah. Next question?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Next question is from Thomas Del Rio. What's your favorite smell or smells and why?
I got mine. Pine. Yeah, pine. I like pine trees.
Okay.
I grew up in a small mountain town, like population of less than 1,500, and it was called Pine was in the name. So I was just like, I'm a camping kid, Boy Scout. I love the forest. So pine is just anytime I smell pine, it reminds me of home. I just love pine.
Me? I love the smell. I love the smell of like I think I love the smell of pork cooking. I I recently had pork and I was like, oh my god. I know I like chicken, I like poultry, I like beef, but pork, it's just fat.
Like
and
any
meat.
kind of pork, like bacon. Like bacon's a good smell.
Bacon's pretty great, but like I like a pork belly. Like I want that
like
chunky,
thick.
fat, thick cap right there, and that makes me just be like, oh. I wasn't hungry, but I
now
could
you
eat.
are.
Now I could eat them pork bellies, them crispy pork bellies. If there's a, I'm getting like mouth water right now.
You broke yourself.
Well, the thing is, I haven't had pork in such a long time. I've been eating nothing but chicken and turkey.
Does that place
ground
that we
chicken
go
and
to,
turkey at that?
Does that place that we go to that's by me here in Glendale have pork? I don't remember.
Which
barbecue place? The Korean barbecue place.
Oh, Jen, yeah. Yeah, they have pork belly.
Yeah,
they have pork belly, but yeah, just I want like just just like on a grill is
Well, everybody, you
stupid.
know the drill. As no, I'm just kidding.
I feel like do you have a second one? Because I feel like I don't want to do a food one only. I could do like an actual aromatic smell.
I like the smell of plumeria flowers. Um, you've seen them before. It's hard to explain. They're a very interesting looking flower. It's almost like a spiral looking. I just love the smell of plumeria. They smell real good.
Oh. If I could do a second smell, I would say I enjoy the smell. I like the smell of rain.
Oh yeah, that's a good
I like the
smell.
smell of rain. So
And like the day after when with everything that it's like it just smells like rain. You're like, oh, that smells like rain. That has like a scientific name I heard, but I don't know. I don't remember it, so I'm just like talking.
what how much time do we have? We have one more question maybe?
Yeah, I think one more question.
One more question. All right, real quick. There's a fake question in the chat. I'm going to answer it right now from Mamba. Now, Tom, hear me out. If you meet a woman that you were attracted to and smell like pork, what if? Then I marry her. Absolutely, as Thomas Del Rio said, I marry her. And if it's fresh, if it's not old dead pork, then yeah, I marry her because she smell good and she make me happy and she's nice to look at. So the real last question of the day of this episode will be from MX Raff. And this is from a couple weeks back. What is your element of choice?
Oh, like earth, wind, fire, that kind of thing.
I think so. There's not too much elaboration on it, but so
Okay.
that allows us to do our own.
Okay. I think it's earth. I think a lot of different things that the element of earth, like getting your hands dirty, the earth itself, like earth. I don't know. That's earth.
Okay.
Heart.
Surprise.
Surprise the
Surprise.
No, Tom.
Okay, fine, a real one. The fifth one. I'm not. I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Comment. Comment down.
I mean, okay, everyone in the chat saying heart. I get it. Captain Planet. I get it. And also Fifth Element is kind of love and heart. But I feel like, honestly, even though I love fire, most likely my element that I typically choose and I typically like kind of think about the most is air.
Yeah.
I think about winds changing. I think about like floating. I think about like free movement. I think about harmony, and I feel like wind kind of does that. I know there's a lot of harmony with earth, like finding harmony with your place on earth and nature. But I feel like with air, it always symbolizes freedom for some reason. I get it, but also to me kind of like symbolize like calmness, and even though that's also an earth thing too.
I think that's water for me. Like like the idea of sometimes people will say, like, when you're meditating, to imagine that you're floating down a river, and instead of fighting it, you go with it and you allow it to. That's what I like. Water would be my next, like just going with the flow, letting go. But it's kind of equal.
Fire would be my next.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would.
We're so yin and yang. We're so yin and yang,
and we get along so well.
That just means that we're lethal weapon.
Yeah, it's true.
That's it.
I'm getting too old for this. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's it. That's the last question.
I think there was one timely that I was just going to shout out that it was way up there, but they said, I apologize. Maybe you can scroll, but they asked if we got anything good for Black Friday. It's just because it is Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. I did get something. I got some plugins. Yeah, super audio nerd. Hell yeah.
What do these plugins do? How are they going to help you? And why? What was the big discount?
It was 25% off. They're called Fab Filter. They're really good plugins, like EQ compressor, multiband compressor, limiter. They're just really good. I like their user interface. I got to play with them today. Their user interface is really cool. I like something that's visual. It has a visualizer in it, meaning you can see the waveform or the frequencies. It's showing you the frequency response and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like talking technical, but it's really cool. It sounds good too. I might use it on this episode. I might go away from my template and use these just for kicks because I have them, and I've wanted them for a long time. So I was like, hey, they were super on sale. Did you get anything, Tom?
I bought something for my sister. She needed some car chargers. I needed a car little docking thing, but semi pluggy, semi not pluggy.
I mean, now's the time.
I used some of our partnered promotional stuff. Our Manscaped shampoo and body wash, which I was very delightfully surprised. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. It looks like
it looks really fancy.
Bottle.
And it smells like really good.
Water bottle. And I was like, oh. And the thing that happens with my hair when I use like a shampoo and conditioner, it gets like really frizzy and wired out because it's like so like light without the oil. But this wasn't the case. And I was like, oh. And so I traveled back home, and then I was like, I don't usually bring toiletries. I just use whatever my dad has, like a towel, or I have my own toothpaste and toothbrush. But shampoo and conditioner and body wash, I'm like, whatever, use what I have. But then I got this in the mail. I was like, oh, let me try this. And I was delightfully surprised. I was even more surprised with the lip balm. I was so surprised.
I haven't used that
yet. it's interesting because it's like got like this cold, hot feel to it. And so you're like, ooh, it's refreshing.
Okay.
And it smells like, you kind of smell like the Manscaped. It's like, okay, this feels like a little barber shoppy. And like, I was like, oh, and I had like the 5-hour drive. So I was like, okay, let me just try this on. I was like, this is nice. Like,
is that I typically your good lip balm dance? You're just like,
this is nice. I typically have like a coconut aloe chapstick, but then the Manscaped ones, I was like, let me try this out. And like, I was quite surprised that like, people who work on, the private part grooming, personal hygiene stuff. I was like, how are they going to be on this like, over the counter kind of stuff like is for everyone particularly? And I'm like, oh, it's quite good entirely. So.
Yeah. I mean, just a good segue into the into the housekeeping. We are sponsored by Manscaped, so do check them out. At the time of this recording, which is Monday, Cyber Monday, they do have a major sale going on of 25% off. After today, head on over to Manscaped and use the code NERDON for 20% off and free shipping on your entire order. So check that out. If you like what you hear today, stop by, rate, review, share us with your friends and family. If you're on the YouTubes, because all of our episodes go to video. Our other show, Nerd on the Podcast, kind of the staple of our company. All of those episodes are 4K video. It's real good. Looks real nice. So check it out on YouTube, wherever your favorite podcasting app is. Follow us there, rate us, all that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff really does help. All of this stuff that I'm just like throwing out into the airwaves, you can get all of that information at nerdon.tv. It has all of the links. It has all of our episodes, our entire hundreds of episodes is there, the archive. Some podcast apps don't sync all episodes that are on the feed. So you can go there and go back to Baby Nerd On, episode 1, Tree of Nerddom. There it is. It's on our website. So, but that's it. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you all. But yeah, you know the drill. As always, Nerd on.
Nerd on.